Thanks for joining us tonight in the Play Space for our delayed Play Q&A. Keith Avalone from Play Games. Sam is producing tonight's show as usual. So it turns out I had COVID, which is why I wasn't feeling so great on Thursday night. But I'm great now. Got in touch with some Paxlovid on Friday. That stuff is pretty awesome. So I'm mostly good as new. Might get a couple coughs in tonight before the show is over. Hope not, but we'll see how it goes. But yes, tonight's Play Q&A is on. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions for tonight's show. We have about 30 questions to go over, so why don't we just jump right in? We'll pretty much go in order that the questions were received, although I did kind of group some of them together that were kind of similar, although most of the questions are actually quite different. There'll be time at the end, I hope, for maybe some impromptu questions that can be posted in the chat. I've got my iPad in front of me. I can see the names scrolling by. I see Steve-O in there, all excited about Steve Carey, all excited about the Hoops game. We're playing it in Vegas, Steve, and aiming for about a 30 to 40-minute stream tonight. So let's get right to it. First question from Pete Adams. Any release date for Mike Fitzgerald's Battle of the Bands? He had fun playing that at the convention last summer. We've been playing that off and on with Mike, and we actually played it quite a bit right around the holidays. I've not played it since then, but we are going to, in fact, hopefully Mike is watching tonight. We're going to be giving him a call tomorrow to get our next play date set up. That's on our agenda of stuff to play, Battle of the Bands. We'll be bringing that to Dice Tower West, not in any kind of a finished form, but sort of in a more or less finished form, kind of a play test form. So we are moving forward on that, but we do not have a release date for Battle of the Bands at this point. Any official thoughts for Soccer Blast on the 5-player substitutions that are now allowed? Yeah, that just needs to be an adjustment to the rules booklet to reflect the current rules. Please feel free to use 5 substitutions in your Soccer Blast games. And will there be an official pinch hitter rule for History Maker Baseball Express? Pete had a suggestion. There are a number of different suggestions on how to use the pinch hitter in the Express version of baseball. I like the rule of just saying a limit of like 2 pinch hitters, and that's it. I feel like it's the simplest that way. You could also say that the pinch hitter can't come in unless the bullpen is in. But generally speaking, I think everybody's got their own rules, their own ideas about what's best for that. So I'm not sure we'll really need to make an official pinch hitter rule for the Express version of baseball. Michael Remillard asks, are you planning to release a 2023 MLS set? The answer is yes. John Bergeron, our ace soccer guy, is working on it right now, and we are hoping to have it available by the end of, well, I don't want to put John on the spot. We're aiming for the end of this month. May not happen the end of this month, but it will happen. Ricky Berner, my fellow Saints fan in disgrace. That's not disgraceful, I guess. We commiserate, though, off via email about the New Orleans Saints' fortunes. We're not exactly thrilled with the direction the team is taking. But Ricky asks, any more sporting games in the future, like boxing or horse racing? I think those are the only 2 sports you have not covered yet. Again, nothing is planned. It's funny, I saw in the chat there were bets on whether we would get the boxing game question, and we did. From Ricky, you can blame Ricky. We do not have plans for a boxing game. We have sort of a beta version in playtesting. Of course, we have the 1890s Fight Club, which is sort of our, you know, it's not really a boxing game, but it is sort of a boxing game. And we have a in development version of horse racing that I get to every once in a while. I kind of design in streaks, and something kind of grabs me. I'll sit down and develop it. And I will just be honest right now, neither horse racing nor boxing are in the development stream. But that doesn't mean I might not get a good idea at some point and begin to pick it up again. I've got basic ideas for both, more of an idea for horse racing if it's further developed, but neither of them are in the active development phase right now. And I think, Ricky, you're right. I really don't see any other sports that we might develop. People talk about, excuse me, Olympic, like the Olympic sports, or rugby, Australian rules football, things like that. I don't see those as happening anytime in the near future. Again, never say never, but right now we have no other sporting games in development aside from full play hoops, which is winding down. Horse racing, which is in a, I don't know, if I put it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably somewhere around a 3. And boxing would be probably around a 1.5. And I have no other sports games in the works besides those. Gideon Ames asks, have you considered cricket or Formula E for play treatment? Again, this kind of is lumped together. Gideon asked the question, actually, I think it was yesterday, but it fits in with what Ricky's saying. Again, do not have a Formula One or E or any kind of other race car game in mind, except for red, white, and blue racing. And cricket, cricket is problematic for a number of reasons. I feel like it's my feeling. I don't know that anybody shares this feeling with me, but I feel like Fury Hardball is cricket enough for me, and I really like Fury Hardball. So if I'm gonna, I do plan to get behind Fury Hardball some this spring as the baseball season begins to hit, because we get some exciting stuff coming with it, I hope. We're going to do Fury Hardball at the Wisconsin event in Milwaukee, or I'm bringing it as my potluck contribution. So I believe that Fury Hardball is a nice, playable, approachable substitute for cricket. I know it's not cricket exactly. There are cricket rules to it. So I do not have a cricket game in the works, nor do I have Formula One or E. But I appreciate the suggestion. Chris Schmidt, also from that side of the world, over in Ireland, asks this question: would you consider expanding your express concept to standalone sports for which you don't have a long play game, i.e., rugby, Olympic football, or the Olympic handball, indoor soccer, Aussie rules football, and so on? Would I do an express game without a full play game to support it? And again, that's never say never, but I don't have any plans to do that at the current time. Chris also lists Gaelic football. I've heard a lot of good things about Gaelic football. Volleyball. Do not have any plans to do an express version of those games without some sort of a supporting full play game. Interesting idea, and again, wouldn't rule it out, but nothing in development at this time. Jason Marks asks, will there be a playmat for Face to the Mat Pro Wrestling? And I would say that we don't have one designed right now, but we have often talked about one. So there are only really a handful of games right now that don't have mats. There's Face to the Mat, second season full play, and Hockey Blast full play. Of course, there are express play mats for both second season and Hockey Blast, but not mats for the full play game. And all those games kind of have the same problem. There's also History Maker Baseball does not have a play mat, and of course Cold Snap, which kind of we lump in with second season. All those games have the same problem except History Maker Baseball, which I'll get to in a second. And that is that for wrestling and football and hockey, the standard mat size is just not quite big enough to do what we want it to do. And we've tried different kind of configurations, specifically for football. We would love to have a second season football playmat with 100 yards, where you get a marker and you can mark it down yard by yard. But the reality is that the standard playmat won't fit 100 yards or 100 marks. So it kind of leaves us, in kind of a tough spot. Now, the company that we use to create mats for us, They do offer an extra like an XL game mat. It's more expensive though. We would probably have to charge about $50 for it in order to make it work. But with that size, we could do these mats for hockey, full play hockey, where you could spread out all the cards on the mat. Second season football, where you'd have you could actually track the ball up and down the field every yard at a time. And face of the mat, we started with face of the mat, but it falls in that same category. There's just not quite enough room on the standard size mat to get the hot box board and the match track board both on there, along with everything else that we'd want to do. So, I'll put it out there. If people want to respond via email, or you can respond here in the chat room, we'll read the comments later. If you would be willing to pay extra for a large mat, we might consider making one. My sense is that $50, that's a lot to pay for a game mat. But if the interest is there, it certainly can be done. So we'll just leave it at that. So that's the mat question. I didn't mention baseball. Baseball, we can fit everything onto a standard size mat for baseball. Honestly, we haven't had a lot of demand for a baseball playmat. I think that may be because that was the first game that really, sprouted off the homebrew mats. When History Maker Baseball came out, a lot of people started making their own mats. This is back in 2013, 2014, before Sam, joined on board, and I wasn't able to make mats, design them. So I think a few years went by. Sam joined in 2018, so I think in that time space, most people who wanted a baseball game mat made one. So for that reason, we don't really get a lot of demand for a baseball play mat. Not that we wouldn't make one, but again, it doesn't seem to be really a demand for it. If that were to change, however, we certainly would accommodate, I think. Okay, that's the mat question. Jason Lawmeyer from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, who I hope will be making the trip to Milwaukee here in April, asks, will we be seeing a new Wrestling America Federation set this year? Yes, we will. I'm running a little bit behind. We actually hoped to do this in January. We're going to move it to April. Remember, a couple of years ago, we did the Commissioner's Edict show, where we took the 2021 Wrestling America Federation set and we ran them through a deck of cards, which we offer. I actually think it's still on the free stuff page, the Commissioner's Edict deck, where they're going into the commissioner's office and they're finding out their fate, whether they're going to get renewed for the new TV season. And there are comments, and then and some of them just get shown the door instantly. Some of them are showered with love and are given TV grade increases. Others, they're on the cusp. It's like you get to show me something. So there'll be like a series of matches where the winner gets to stay in the Wrestling America Federation, the loser is out. So we will do that. We've got it scheduled for April 11th. And that will be our Commissioner's Edict 2025 show, which will determine the roster for the Wrestling America Federation 2025 card set. So it'll be April 11th will be the Edict show. Then we'll have the playoff matches like probably the week after that or 2 weeks after that, where wrestlers will have to win to stay in. And then we'll publish the set probably sometime in the summer. With the again, we do that every 2 years for the Wrestling America Federation, so it'll be the 2025 set that will tide us over until 2026, about this time in 2026. John Bergeron asks the following 3 questions. Number 1, if the opportunity presented itself to digitize one of the PLAAY sports games, would you consider that option? All right, so the 2 key words here, John, opportunity, number 1, and digitize, number 2. We'll start with the second one first, digitize. Yeah, if by digitize you mean turning it into a computer game, that would be a no. Really, I'm not a computer game player. I don't. Me and Sam were talking about this. I asked Sam, when was the last time you saw me playing a game on a computer? Never. It just doesn't appeal to me. So we will not be doing computer games, computer versions of PLAAY games. Now, to do an app on an iPhone, now we might consider something like that if the opportunity presented itself, and that's where the discussion kind of ends, because I think the odds of an opportunity presenting itself for some sort of a PLAAY games app is very small. It's quite costly. to develop that, and it's frankly an area that I think might be more of a diversion that might take us away from what we're really trying to do than what we're trying to accomplish. However, if an opportunity presented itself and it didn't do that, and we felt like it would be beneficial, then I think we might, we might look into something like that, an app uh, type presentation of maybe not the game, maybe the you know pregame stuff, the game day stuff, or the baseball game, or whatever. Yeah, Sam's chiming in. He said it'd have to be really well done. We don't want to put something out there that was kind of half baked, or I know how hard it is hard to develop those apps, and I know a lot goes into it, and I don't you have to be skilled at it to really make it work. So yeah, again, Sam and I both agree that the opportunity, while present, is I think quite small. Second question from John: are there other sports games you've considered in the past or have attempted to create that just didn't really come together as originally expected? If so, which ones, and would you ever consider reviving these projects at any time? Well, actually, there are three games that were developed and just didn't work out, but then eventually did. And they were hoops, the NASCAR game, and golf. Just real quickly, hoops, we messed around with oh my gosh, a bunch of different models. The Hoopla event, the game we played in Chicago in 2019 is so far different than the game that's going to be coming out at the end of May. It's not even it's not even comparable. That game we basically just, I think it was sometime in 2020. It was right after the convention. It was just bailed on it. It's like this game is not going to work. So, that's when the idea for adapting the face of the mat model kind of jumped in there, and that's where Highlight Maker Hoops came about, and it works great. I think, and I'm not just saying this. This is what I hear. I think it's the perfect way to recreate a basketball game in that you get all the highlights, but it doesn't take you, an hour and a half, 2 hours to play it. You get the feel of having played a full game. So I'm really excited about of the process. Sometimes the biggest flops turn into really pleasant surprises. Same thing with History Maker Golf. Those of you that were around in 2015, 2016 know that it was suggested that this was actually 2014, 2013, after the baseball game came out. There was a homebrew version of a golf game using the History Maker engine, and I was like, oh, come on. Because in my mind, the golf game needed to be based on the bowling game engine, where you would actually hold a little golf club and you'd putt a D20 toward a target board, and that's how I felt like that's how you'd play golf. We've been over this topic before, so I won't beat it to death. But bottom line is that was a bad idea, and History Maker Golf was a great idea, and so it's that worked out really well. And this really the same thing for NASCAR. NASCAR, I spent many years with a couple of different models that just didn't work out. They were too slow. They were just not, they required too. One of them was actually not too bad, but it took up like a full table, like 8-foot table, in order to be able to play it. So I didn't think that was very workable. But through all that development came Red, White, and Blue Racing, and which is I think the kind of NASCAR game that I really enjoy playing, and I'm really pleased with the way it's been responded. So yes, I've had many games that have just kind of flopped, but in each of those three cases, something good has come out of it. I don't have another game that's flopped that I haven't found an answer for that I've just given up on. So I guess that would be the answer to that question. There are no other games at this point that just really haven't come together yet. And this final question for fictional assessment, without giving away all the secrets, do you follow any specific process or guidelines when rating players from one year to the next? Like, is it a roll of the die to see if the Baseball America player is a slugger one season and a home run king the next? Additionally, how do you determine player movement from roster to roster? Well, I'm going to get a sip of my tea here before I answer this one. Actually, it's a very short answer. Generally speaking, well, entirely speaking, there are no charts that I refer to. Um, there are no tables. There's no progression that is like a standard progression and an unusual progression. There's none of that. It's more like an author writing the next chapter of his book. That's just the way it works for me. I will sit down and look at the teams. Now, that's not to say that I don't use numbers to kind of. I do check my work and make sure that we're not going to have a league that where the team's batting average is 400. I do balance the qualities and make sure everything is. But in terms of who does what, who's in, who's out, who's going to get traded, I work on it like an author working on a novel, and I write a new chapter, and we're about to release the next chapter of Baseball America. Funny you should mention here in the next couple of weeks, and I think it's lots of cool stuff going on with it. So more on that in a couple of weeks. Chris DeMello writes, do you send out announcements or email notifications about your holiday /playoff specials? We used to do that as part of the emailed newsletter. I'm trying to remember how long it's been since we did an emailed newsletter. What we found was we were having all kind of problems with the emails going to spam. I would spend on newsletter day I would spend probably about an hour answering people who didn't get their newsletter, wondering where it was, and it became kind of a counterproductive thing, and we would also find declining open rates. So some people were getting the newsletter but weren't opening it, or who knows what was happening to it. But we could track how many of the emails that we sent and versus how many were actually opened. And we started out, if I'm remembering correctly, it was a really high open rate. I think 80%, 80, 75%, and gradually started trickling down to about 40%, 35%. So it's like at that point we decided, let's just put the newsletter on the blog and just publish it, and so people can access it directly through the website. Now, we do have a function with our e-commerce provider, Squarespace, which will allow us to send out emails to people who have signed up. In fact, on the site, what page is that they get that? On the community page, there's like a message to sign up for the Play Ping, and that was sort of the thing between the Connect and the newsletter. We did the ping, where we'd send out a ping saying, "Hey, check the blog post. There's something going on," which got even less response. So we do have this function to collect email addresses and to notify people when we do sales and stuff. So we may try that again, where we'll send out an email saying, "Hey, here's what's in today's Play Connect." I mean, we'll continue to post the Connect monthly, which has the same features as the newsletter to a large degree, along with the free stuff and the news and the video links and things like that. But I could see us sending out an email after having posted the Connect to the email list that says, "Hey, just a reminder, check play.com for today's Connect. It's got cool stuff in it, an article on the convention and some free stuff, free set of baseball teams or something like that." So I think that's something we've been talking about doing, but we just have not gotten around to doing it. So thanks, Chris, for lighting that fire under our seats to maybe get that done. He also asked any plans to do cards for 80s, 90s, or early 2000s hockey seasons, and we don't have any plans for this year to release additional hockey sets outside of the new NHL set that'll be coming out in October. We don't have a vintage set. Rob Gallimore has been so kind to create some of our vintage hockey sets for us that we've released during the holiday sale, and I could see us doing another one of those this fall. We have a couple of sets that we discontinued. I was reminded I had forgotten that we offered the 1957-58 NHL season. That shows you how long we've been doing this, man. We offered it, I think, as a holiday freebie, or a holiday PDF. It wasn't a freebie; it was a PDF that we offered at Christmas for during the Christmas sale, and then we haven't ever offered it since. But it's a pretty cool set, and somebody asked about it, and so we'll make that available. We do have some sets. We have the 60. I think at some point we decided, the sales for the pre-1970 sets are there must just be sold through. People don't really care about the big six or for whatever reason. Let's just take them off the site. So we removed everything, I think, from before. I don't know. I haven't looked. I think everything from before 1970, maybe before 1980. No, the 74-75 season is still there. So I think everything before 1970 we took off because we felt like nobody was interested in it. But we might bring that back. That doesn't really answer Chris's question though about 80s and 90s seasons. I'm on the fence too about two. What do you guys think about 2000s seasons? Now, let's face it. The year 2000, that's almost 25 years ago now. So it is starting to getting to be vintage territory. It's hard to think of, the 2002 hockey season as being vintage, but it really is starting to get to be that way too. So I guess the question is there interest in the community to play those seasons? We started producing the current seasons for Hockey Blast with the 2009 season. So there's not that much of a gap, really. But there are a few seasons in there that might be of interest that I think it would be easy to think of as, kind of more recent seasons than vintage seasons. But if there's interest, we could certainly put some of those out from 2000 to, 2009. Kent Gray asks, when you were talking about the new sets for this year, he's talking about, when I was talking about the new card sets for this year earlier, in the first of the year stream. You basically said they'd be coming out around the usual times that they've been released in the past, which makes sense, except for tennis. Obviously, it's a new game, and it doesn't have a usual time. No history of previous releases. He says, like you, I really enjoyed the fictional players. When might the 2024 tag sets be released, or will they? They will be released. We work with Chad McAvoy on that. Chad has started a new job in Illinois, and so he's really pretty busy, which explains why we don't have anything in the pipeline for the next couple of months. But we'll be talking with Chad at the convention. I'm sure we'll set something up. So I would say yes, we will have new tennis sets this later this summer, early this fall. I'm not sure whether that would be the normal time. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the right time would be for tennis sets to come out every year. It's nice to have them come out at a consistent kind of a rhythm. So it might well be that tennis sets will come out in the late summer, early fall. Very crowded. It's starting to get pretty crowded in the fall though, with hockey and basketball and football and golf. Golf had to kind of get moved to January this year. Chuck Gustafson asks, I see a lot of people wondering how to buy older sets from you, especially for fictional leagues, since usually only the current season is available for purchase on your website. While it's not difficult to contact you about a missing season, is there a reason why the older seasons are taken off the site? Well, the reason we take them off is just mainly for clutter. I don't know if people realize we have hundreds and hundreds of products. When you think about all the different seasons, all the different versions of each season, PDF or printed or deluxe, all the different games, it is a boatload of products available. Once something comes out, there seems to always be sort of a demand for it, as evidenced by the guy that asked about the 57, 58 hockey cards. It's like, wow, I forgot we even had. We've just got so many sets we've made, it's hard to even keep track of them all. So for that reason, we try to trim it back as best we can. And really, it's not like we want to cut it down to a minimum. It's more like there's this balance that we've discovered between, overwhelming and manageable and accessible for people. I was telling Sam earlier today, I sometimes feel overwhelmed going into Home Depot. If I'm looking for, like a particular kind of screw or what was I looking for the other day? It was a cleaning compound. And it's like, you go to Home Depot, it's all the stuff. You don't even know where to look. And so a website can be like that too, and it's got a ton of different stuff. So that is the reason why we try to scale it back to just the most current season, which is what most people want. There are always people who would like a different season or a recent season, but our experience shows that once the new season comes out, like once the 2023 season comes out, interest in the 2022 season nosedives. There'll be a few people that want it, but not many, and so it doesn't really make sense in our heads to clutter to have the 2022 season and the 2021 season and the 2020 season. It's just a bunch of icons that only a handful of people are really going to want to be searching for. Everybody else has just going to pick through. So that's why we do it that way. But as Chuck mentioned, I think it's pretty common knowledge. If you email us, we can usually make something like that happen on a couple-day turnaround to print something that's not currently listed on the site. I would ask that you don't email me asking what stuff we have available that's not posted on the website. That's not a question I'm going to try to answer. It's just there's too much stuff that if you have something specific that you would like to have us resurrect for you, that's fine. Happy to do that. Our miscellaneous purchases page is set up to do exactly that, and we're happy to help you as best we can. Some things we can't print. So some of those files have gotten corrupt. I noticed that today. I was going through some old files, and I've noticed that like there's gibberish on some of the old text files from like 2012, 2013, because I think we've gone through so many different versions of Acrobat now that the new version reads these old files much differently. So that could be a problem. It's not widespread, but just be aware that could be a problem. Preclude us from printing some older sets or some sets that are long out of print. I think that is a good answer to Chuck's question. Tim Lucas, will there be any more fictional college releases like the Bowl Binge or the College Hoops Playdown? We would love to do more of those. In fact, we intended to have a 2024 Bowl Binge, a college football Bowl Binge to offer. And in fact, I had hopes to be able to do my own Bowl Binge stream where I would play it would be like 8 bowl games, and I was going to play all 8 of them back to back with Second Season Express on one of those days during the Christmas season where everybody's off from work and what the heck, and just stream it, just for fun, just a true bowl binge to kind of drive home the concept. But alas, we fell behind with a lot of production last year, so we were not able to make that happen. But it's not because we didn't want to. So I would say there will be more fictional college releases. I think we've decided, though, that when it comes to college releases for sports, it's basically the big two: football, basketball. Doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in college baseball, like fictional college baseball. Fictional college hockey, we were on the fence about maybe doing something with a fictional college hockey set. But in the end, I think really basketball and football are the two big fictional college sports. So, yes, we will. I'm going to try to make that bowl binge happen this year because I really wanted to do it last year. And now that I've said it on camera, maybe I'll hold myself to that.
You want to talk about some of the challenges that come with college sets and why we don't?
I don't know if you can hear Sam off mic. He's saying, maybe I should talk about some of the challenges of doing the college sets. And why they're more difficult. Mainly, the logos are difficult. We scour our web sources for logo packs. They're expensive to buy individually, or can be expensive to buy individually. So we typically try to buy them in packs. And there are some value, icons that we can get. But generally speaking, we've used most of the good ones, and then it becomes a matter of creating our own logos. And that becomes time-consuming. So a college universe, a true college universe, and here's a good time to shout out to Ethan Muslin, who spent some time creating like a vast network of the PLAAY college universe from East Coast to West Coast, hundreds of colleges in dozens of conferences, set it all up with